Lara's a non-exec. You've been on the board of Southern Housing Group, of Housing 21, and I know that a big part of what you're doing now is trying to inspire more Black people in particular to consider board work. So Lara, can you kick us off with like a peak and a pit of your non-exec career so far?
Okay. I think I've got I would say I've got two peaks, and they're both my current roles. One I completely and totally love and takes up so much of my time, and I don't get paid a dime. And it's as a trustee of a very tiny frontline homelessness charity in Bradford, West Yorkshire, where I work. I mean, we do fabulous work. We're literally taking people off the streets and putting them in hostels and in a discounted accommodation. It's very, how can I call it, frontline. You know, it's like on the streets, fighting the battle. We've got a turnover of £250,000. We are tiny. It's a beautiful, lovely charity. And it's nice for me to know that the work that I do on the board, on the board of that organization, makes a difference to people in need. It's very frontline. You know, you see the clients, and we take people off the streets. Love it to bits. At the opposite end, I'm also on the board of Housing 21, which is a large, very large, biggest provider of retirement housing in the country. Very strategic, but very interesting, and again, very rewarding, because it's providing accommodation for people over the age of 65. I'm going to be one of those people in another 10 years. That'll be me. No. And it's important that, you know, we look after that age group, and especially in light of COVID. These are the vulnerable in our community. And again, I feel just so privileged that I'm on the board of an organization that is help looking after that age group. I think of my mum and dad, you know, they're in their 70s and their 80s. Yeah. So
I struggle to believe you're going to be there in 10 years.
Well, maybe about 12 years. Yeah, I'll be 60 something. Yeah. Yes. The bottom of my experience, I'd have to be avoiding certain people that advertise all over LinkedIn saying, join us and we'll make you a non-executive director, and you earn 40 grand a year by not doing very much. Don't believe the hype. Can I mention their name? So I paid my £125. The bill started at £2,500, and we negotiated our way down to £125. And you've got to ask yourself, if you can provide such a big discount, then there's something going wrong. So be careful. If someone's offering to help you to get on a board, please check out their reviews. I'm sure they would have very interesting reviews. Said organisation, which name I shall not mention.
Thanks for protecting us from being sued there, Lara. Next, Lara, do you need executive experience to become a non-exec?
No, the answer is no. It doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to have executive experience, but I would start by saying not all senior managers are designed to be non-execs, and not all non-execs have been senior managers. Being a non-executive, a board member, a trustee, a commissioner, a governor, whatever the title is, for me, I think it's more about passion. It's about a belief in the organization, or the product of the organization, the mission of the organization, and an understanding that your role as a board member is to guide that organization in the sort of forward-thinking direction. So you don't necessarily have to be an expert in the detail of the organization that you become a non-executive director of. So I'll give you an example. I am a housing person. I know all about housing, inside out housing, upside down, I can do it. But I've also sat on a board of a children's nursery, because I think, again, like working with older people, I think kids are our future. They're so cute. Who doesn't want to have something to do with a nursery? I'm not an expert in childcare, but I brought my skills in terms of managing people, understanding how organizations work, a little understanding about the finances, but also having connections in that local authority. And those are the skills that I was able to bring to that particular organization. So the answer to the question is no, you do not have to be an executive officer. You don't have to be a director or a manager or a CEO. You can be, they won't work against you. But if you have a passion and you understand your role as a board member, anyone that can read or write can be a board member.
So Lara, what do you think are some of the myths that people have been led to believe about boards that you want to sort of bash them down?
Bash them down, okay. When I was a kid and I overheard my parents talking about the board and something about the school governors, I remember thinking you had to be an old white man. Obviously, I was a child, so everybody over the age of 18, as far as I was concerned, was old at the time. But I did have this vision that you had to be a certain type of white person, male, who went to a certain school and probably knew the Queen. As far as I was concerned, it was a class apart from the rest of us, and someone like me could never, ever, possibly in a million years, be on a board. It just wasn't a thing. So obviously, I now know better, and it's understanding that anyone that can, how should I put it, very basic, if you can read and write and assess documents and, you know, make a decision based on information put in front of you, you can be a board member. So you don't have to go to a posh school, you know, you don't have to be related to, I don't know, the minister or things like that. It's not all, you know, airs and graces. It's just normal, everyday people who have a passion in that organization that can become board members. So yeah, the myth is you have to be a certain kind of person, or maybe a former CEO or minister, or know the president, or in our case, the prime minister. So I'll tell you, it's not that case. You know, my mum's a nurse, my dad's a warehouse manager, and I eventually made it onto a couple of boards. So if I can do it, so can anyone else.
So what would your message be for people from Black or minority ethnic backgrounds that are thinking about considering non-exec work?
I would say go for it. This is the time. Now is the time. Where do I start? First of all, there are so many opportunities out there. There's so many vacancies for trustees. And also there's a whole bunch of our FTSE 100 companies that should by now have diversified their boards and that haven't. So the opportunities are there from the top of the evolutionary financial ladder down to the smallest charity in your local community. There are lots of opportunities there for people like you and me to be on boards. I would suggest that if you're a Black person, do not be shy. Just because you're the only Black person in the room, it's a good thing. You bring a different perspective. You bring a different way of life, and it's important that we represent the viewpoint of our communities and we help organizations see things differently. We all have different experiences, and the board is made up of a combination of different people's experiences, and hopefully that way we come to make a good decision. So go for it. If you need any help, call me. I'll help you put your CV together. I'll do interview training, coaching, will get you on the board. Find something that you're passionate about and apply to be on their board.
Thank you so much, Lara. That's so good and hopefully encouraging and inspiring to anyone watching this. And if you haven't yet, sign up to Dynamic Boards and you can view lots of non-exec vacancies there for free, as Lara has done. And Lara's a brilliant advocate. You're telling everyone about us. So thank you, Lara. Take care. Great to speak to you. Bye.
Thanks, Sarah. Lovely to speak to you too. Thank you.